that one?
Matt Finette.
I'm going to call the May 4th meeting of the West Des Moines City Council to order. And before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, we've got today is Student Government Day. So we are going to go and we're going to have our students just introduce themselves. And we're going to start down here. The students are mirroring each one of us up here. So we're going to start with the deputy clerk, right?
Yeah, just say your name.
My name is Mary.
My name's
Okay.
Nadia.
Say it one more time, city clerk.
Say it in the mic.
My name's Nadia.
Okay?
My name is Eleanor.
And you're the first ward council person?
My name is Charlotte.
No.
She's third. She's third. She's first.
Oh, gotcha, you're third.
Doug's online.
Gotcha, okay.
My name is Vivian.
Okay, and you're at-large council,
My name is Nikayla.
and you're the mayor.
My name is Kaylin.
Okay, and you're the at-large council person, and now we've got,
My name is
Second word.
Jace.
say it one more time.
My name is Jace.
Okay, Jace, second ward council person.
My name is Callan.
Callan, city attorney.
My name is Madison.
Madison, the city manager. Okay, and with that, we are going to have our students lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would all rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Take a second here. All right, students. Test your knowledge on how long you know the pledge, right?
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They know it well. With that, please sign in.
He is, yeah.
Ryan, this is Doug. I'm online.
Awesome.
Okay, we have Councilman Lotz online.
Yeah, go ahead and say it. Lean in the mic and say it.
5 members present.
Okay. Ryan, have there been any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Your Honor.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
Motion.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Push the yes.
Yes.
Say it now.
5 yes.
Okay, we are now going to go to a couple presentations of proclamations. We've got 2 proclamations we're going to do today. The first one's going to be for celebrating Cinco de Mayo, and the second one is going to be Police Officers Week, May 10th through the 16th. I am going to read the proclamations, both of them, back to back, and then we are going to have the people that are here for the Cinco de Mayo proclamation meet us up front for a picture, and then we're going to have the people that are here for Police Officers Week meet us up front for the picture after that. All right. Cinco de Mayo. Whereas the city of West Des Moines recognizes May 5th, or Cinco de Mayo, as a date of great significance to many Mexican Americans here in West Des Moines, and whereas Cinco de Mayo is a celebration of Mexican heritage and culture, commemorating the Mexican victory over the French by rounding up 2,000 troops of indigenous and mixed ancestry to win the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862. Whereas Cinco de Mayo is an opportunity for all people of all backgrounds to come together, learn from one another, and honor the rich history and valuable contributions of Mexican Americans in our community. Whereas throughout West Des Moines history, Mexican Americans have played a critical role in the development of historic Valley Junction, serving as rail and cement workers. They helped build the railroad and make the cement that would be used to pave roads and sidewalks, ultimately furthering the vision of historic Valley Junction. Whereas now, in its 19th year, the annual Cinco de Mayo celebration will be recognized on Thursday, May 7th at 5 p.m. at Music in the Junction and the Valley Junction's Farmers Market. And all are welcome to attend. Now, therefore, I, Russ Trimble, Mayor of the City of West Des Moines, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 5th, 2026 as Cinco de Mayo, and I call upon the residents of West Des Moines to come together and celebrate the history and contributions of Mexican Americans in our community. Okay, now for Police Officers Week. Whereas law enforcement officers play an important role in the lives of all West Des Moines residents, and whereas public understanding of the duties and responsibilities of these officers is crucial to their effective performance, and whereas 223 Iowa peace officers have given their lives in the line of duty, including Marshal Anthony Swada and Sergeant Sean Miller from the West Des Moines Police Department. And whereas a Peace Officers Memorial plaque was dedicated on May 12, 1988, listing the names of those Iowa peace officers who gave their lives in protecting the rights and privileges of Iowa citizens, and to whom the Iowa Peace Officers Memorial was dedicated on May 15, 1985. And whereas West Des Moines continues to maintain significantly lower crime rates than does both the state and the nation as a whole, which can be attributed in part to the dedication and effectiveness of West Des Moines law enforcement officers, now therefore I, Russ Trimble, Mayor of West Des Moines, Iowa, do hereby proclaim Sunday, May 10th through Saturday, May 16th, 2026 as Police Officers Week, and do further proclaim Thursday, May 24th, 2026 as Police Officers Memorial Day in West Des Moines, and urge citizens to support law enforcement in and around the city to become better acquainted with the operations and personnel of local police agencies, and to honor those officers who have given their lives in the line of duty. And with that, can we get the folks that are here for the Cinco de Mayo celebration down front to take a picture with us? I know we've got royalty, or family of royalty, the king and queen of Cinco de Mayo. All right, the council will meet you there, as well as the city manager. Just slow going. Slow going. Okay. We need somebody to hold this. Council's coming, we gotta have some people move up a little bit, some of the taller people are getting back, so we all can snuggle together here close to the picture.
She looks like a photographer to me.
Windows. 1, 2, 3. Stay there, please.
All right, yes.
Have a great week. See you Thursday.
Yes.
Have a great celebration.
Sir, this is Des Moines. I mean, this is West Des Moines. You do? Are you going to be okay? Good, I'm good. If they invite me, I'm all right.
Another picture.
Yeah, I am.
You want to talk at all?
I haven't been asked to speak. Okay. Yeah. Huh? City. There's some guys in there, they do, like, they would. Yeah, they would invite. That's okay. All right. See ya.
Yeah, no problem. Stay there. Another one, one more time. 1, 2, 3.
Good pitch.
2.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's yours.
These are the people that make our city what it is. You guys can all be safe and feel safe in your homes. We're able to do without being safe. So let's hear it. All right, students, you ready? We will move on. All right, item 2 is citizens forum. This is the time for anybody, any citizens in the audience and online that would like to address the council on any item that is not either part of public hearings, item 6, or new business, item 7. So are there any citizens here that would like to address the council on citizens forum? I'll start with the council chambers and then I'll go online. All right, anybody for citizens forum in the chambers? Going once, going twice. All right, is there anybody online for citizens forum? Hit *6. It's important that you listen to this. *6, not #6.
Hello, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, hey, Amy, how are you doing? Why don't you give us your name and address for the record, even though you're a longtime listener and longtime caller.
Okay, I have a concern.
Okay?
A
Name and
really
address.
Big concern.
Yep, give us your name and
My
address
name is
first, Amy, and
Wheeler,
perfect.
and I'm on Mill Civic Parkway.
That's not an address.
There are children there.
Yes.
Why are there children there in one of the dangerous places? The president got another attempt on his life, and West Des Moines has had gunshots in the chambers before. And I can't find the information on that either, but I know it happened around 1997 or so. Politics is not a safe place to be, and I would like to know why those children are there. Who are the parents of these children that brings them to these types of things?
Amy,
This is terrible.
go ahead. Go ahead, Councilman.
No, Amy, I think what you're saying is completely inappropriate. The children are
Pardon me,
absolutely
who's
safe. There's no
speaking,
danger.
please?
It's Councilman
Who's
Lotes.
speaking?
This is
Please.
Councilman Lotes.
Councilman Lopes, you weren't even here in 1997 when gunshots rang at West Des
I
Moines
actually
City
lived
Hall.
in the city of West Des Moines in 1997.
I suspect, but I do not know for sure that it was over land theft. But I don't know because I can't get anybody to give me the information no matter how hard I try and research it. Even people that work at the library remember it, and all of a sudden she was silenced and wouldn't talk to me anymore.
All right, Amy, this is Kevin Trevelyan, City Council, Ward 1. I was here in 1997. And there were no
1997 or so, pardon me.
gunshots
Gunshots
at the West Des Moines City Council chambers, okay? It is a safe environment. We've done the student government day for the 17 years now that I've been on city council, and I know it predates that. So
The newspaper said that there were gunshots. I remember it specifically. It was in the news, but it's been covered up.
it was not West Des Moines, and so
All right, kids, you heard me. Don't say I didn't warn you. Politics is dangerous. My life has been threatened many, many times. My deed got stolen. Somebody started making plans for my property without my knowledge, and so much more. Fake documents, so much more.
Amy, that's your
It's
opinion.
dangerous, kids.
That's your opinion.
No,
Everybody's
it's
entitled
not
to your
my
opinion,
It's the truth.
but it is a safe
the truth.
environment. I've been in West Des Moines since 1961. We have never had an issue. So let's just put an end to this. And if you got something else to
Who's
say,
talking right now?
the same person that started, Kevin Trevelyan, West Des Moines City Council, Ward
Okay,
1.
You're a Mason, right?
Yes, I am. What's that got to do with the slice of bread?
Everybody look up a Mason.
I think Amy's time's about up.
Go ahead. George Washington was a Mason. What's your
Have a good
point?
day. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
You've been exposed, Trevelyan.
Oh, I'm scared.
All right, is there anybody else online for Citizens Forum? Hit *6, not #6, but *6, not #6 for the young kids. To unmute yourself and give us your name and address for the record. Okay. Hearing nobody else chiming in, citizens forum is closed, and I would just say for the students here, this is what's great about our country, about our democracy, is people can call in and they can voice their opinions, they can give us their feedback and input, regardless of what that feedback and input is, and we're here to listen to it and respond to it and do the best we can to have the best city, the safest city. You saw all those officers here. You see an officer in the back. We've also done a lot of security improvements to City Hall. They've been done for a while. Something that you might find interesting is this is called the dais that we sit behind, and it is bulletproof. We should never need that, but in the event we do, we all duck down because bullets cannot come through here. We've also secured City Hall. There's one way in and one way out, and there's bullet-resistant glass in the front. So, okay, Citizens Forum is closed. We are now going to move on to item 3, Mayor, Council, Manager Report, and other entities update. And I'm going to start online with Councilman Lotz. We'll give him a second to unmute.
Thank you, Your
himself.
Honor.
Yep, go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to say one quick thing because I forgot it 2 weeks ago. I wanted to give a shout out to the Chamber for the Beyond Boundaries Business Summit. There was probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000 people there, some incredible speakers, and it was a great time. I felt very fortunate to be able to have a role in it. So thank you to the Chamber and Catherine for putting it on. Second thing is a couple weeks ago, we did the initial dedication for Legacy Woods, and that is a project that many of us on the dais have been working on for 4 or 5 years now. So thanks to staff and the individuals in our community who gave money to that, people who have given time to that, and the council for supporting it. That's the end of my report, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Trevilian.
The only thing I want to say is that I invite everybody to come down Thursday night to Farmers Market for Cinco de Mayo. It's a great celebration. And also for May 14th for the Police Week celebration over at the police station. That's also a great event. And go there and thank the men and women in uniform that do keep us safe in West Des Moines.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. My recap is I also attended Legacy Woods. I will let Greg update everyone regarding our F&A meeting, but on that same day, I did continue to attend the Community Engagement Institute. We toured the Public Works, and we also had an update from Development Services. I also attended the groundbreaking of Fire Station 13 on Southeast Moffett Lake Road. Russ was there, Doug and Matt. One of my subcommittees is the Valley Junction Foundation, so I did receive an update, and thank you very much, Steve and Vicki. Both of you were in attendance. That was my first go-round, so I intend to be there for the duration. Let's see. Also, this past Wednesday was Human Services Volunteer Appreciation. I attended that along with Doug and Tom. I also split my time. Valley High School, the Air Force Junior ROTC program, they actually had their 3rd annual National Award Ceremony. So there were a number of seniors that were recognized from the various groups. I'll just read off some of the groups. The Sons of Union Veterans of Civil War, Daughters of Union Veterans of Civil War, Air Commando Association, Celebration Freedom Foundation, the Tuskegee Airmen, the Retired Enlisted Association, Air Force Sergeants Association, Military Officers Association, Daughters of the American Revolution, Veterans of Foreign War, Reserve Organization of America, American Legion, and the Air and Space Forces Association. The reason why I wanted to take the time to listen all of the various groups to show the support and the awards that were awarded to our seniors. I'm not sure how many people are aware of the Air Force Junior ROTC program at Valley, but it is an excellent, excellent program. We have students, though, that do desire to go to the Air Force Academy, and this is the foundation. Some of them are actually learning to fly. So that kind of gives them a leg up. But it is a very, very great program, and I just want to kind of highlight that and bring it to everyone's attention. We have young students that are learning the value of being in the military, the value of protecting, the value of serving. A lot of these students, when they leave the military, they do become our police officers. So I wanted to take the time to acknowledge the great program at Valley and our future Air Force and our future military. Let's see. On Friday, this past Friday, I had the honor of attending the West Des Moines Police swearing-in ceremony for 3 new officers, and Russ and Tom was in attendance of that. And that was very rewarding. At this stage in our lives, when we hear so many negativities about our police officers, at least to know there are still young men and young women who do value giving back to the community and being police officers. So I was very honored to be there. And I hope everyone also attends the presentation or the luncheon. It will be next Thursday at I think it's next Thursday. Craig, is it next Thursday at the police station? The 14th? Okay, everyone, please attend. That gives you a chance to be up close and personal with the people who are defending, protecting, and serving our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Councilman McKinney, any update?
Yeah, briefly, Mayor, we've had this issue about fences around pools around on the dais for several years. And this morning, we had a development and planning subcommittee meeting and heard some great perspective from a resident who's going through this, did a detailed conversation about international swim pool, whatever, code. And I think actually we are going to look at making a slight tweak consistent with that, consistent with the code after looking at what other communities across the metro are doing. So look for that slight tweak to come before the council. Other than that, I think Councilwoman Elliott, you covered a lot of those events well. Thank you for highlighting those, and I'll pass it off to Greg.
Just for the students, so these people serve as council people, and like first and third Monday of the month, we have council meetings, but each one of them also sits on city council subcommittees. We've got the Finance and Administration, City Council Subcommittee, Finance Administration, Public Safety, Community Compliance, Public Services, and then each one of us serve on regional committees so that multiple cities have city elected officials that serve on those as well. So a lot of the work that we do, a lot of the vetting of the different issues and the projects and all those things, a lot of that gets done at these different city subcommittee meetings. And so, you know, you may see us bring up an item and not have a lot of discussion and vote on it, but a lot of the discussion has been had at these subcommittee meetings. And what these council people are reporting on is what happened in these meetings that they had, so that everybody, because there's only 2 council people on each one of the city council subcommittees, and then staff as well. So they're giving the report, so the rest of us that don't sit on those subcommittees can know what's gone on those subcommittees. So they're getting us all up to speed. And with that, Councilman Hudson, any report?
Yeah, just a quick thing. The first thing, I do want to thank our 10 sixth graders for being here tonight. It means a lot that you care a lot about our local government. So it's awesome to get to meet you, get to share some pizza together earlier, and to talk together. So welcome, and it's great to have you here. And in the interest of Student Government Day, I will...
Nice, gonna have a pizza party.
Go ahead.
Apologies. In any case, it's wonderful to see young people who care about our community. And I do have a broader report, so I'm going to save that for next time in the interest of Student Government Day. So.
And other than that, no report at this time, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. Very well spoken. Okay, moving on to City Manager Madison.
Construction is scheduled to begin today at Waterford Drive in Raccoon River Park. The finance team had their repeat on April 23rd. They discussed the 2025 survey, action plan, projects, and team building experience. The Human Services staff hosted their yearly volunteer application launch on April 29th. There were several games and activities. The library received a 5-star review from a first grader at Sugar Creek Elementary. Tracy visited her school and brought her a goodie bag from the library. The Rec Plus hosted the last mega volleyball event last weekend.
All right, anything else, City Manager? City Manager Maddie? Does that end your report?
Yes.
Okay, very well done. Appreciate the update. As Councilwoman Elliott said, I got to swear in 3 new police officers, and it was Chief Bellamy's first swearing-in ceremony as our new chief. He did an excellent job. It was very well attended, and we were very excited to welcome 3 new officers to our team. Also, as Councilwoman Elliott talked about as well, we had the groundbreaking for Station 13. It is going to be our first fire station south of the river. It's a great project. It's a project that really city government, state government, and federal government are coming together to save taxpayers money and come up with an efficient design of a building. We've got the National Guard Readiness Center right there. And we've got a tower training center for the firefighters, which I will never enter again. I am retired from that obstacle course.
As am I.
Yeah, Kevin's done too. I think the last time we did that, you visited the hospital
Yeah,
afterwards.
they tried to kill me.
Yeah, I think so. So, and we're now going to be building a station. You know, this will be the 6th fire station. And the building of it is going to be the easy part. The staffing of it is going to be the difficult part. We're going to have to very quickly probably hire about 15 firefighters to staff that station. That's about $1.5 million is what I anticipate, maybe a little bit more. But it's going to be great for people south of the river. That's where most of our growth, a lot of our growth is going to be is south and southwest. And we need to make sure that the people that live down there are protected, which they are right now. I think our response times for our firefighters are about 6.5 minutes, which is a pretty darn good response time. We've got all 3 public safety agencies are nationally accredited, so you know you're getting the best people that are extremely well-trained, and that helps you as a homeowner with your ISO rating to be able to get a discount on your insurance as well. So very beneficial that we have these men and women protecting us, serving us, and helps us save some money too. So that's a good thing. All right. With that, we're going to move on to item 4, the consent agenda. Are there any items that any council person would like to have pulled and voted on separately? Otherwise, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda as distributed.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
And Mayor, well,
Okay, Doug votes yes.
while folks are voting, I do want to quickly express appreciation for staff. Tom, our city manager, and Ryan, economic development, spent some time rushing to, and this happens regularly, right? People spend time working to get these things done, and I know there are a couple items in here, one in particular that needed to get done in order to meet some financing requirements. And I think people spent a lot of additional time to get that done. I just want to recognize the work that goes into this, probably after hours, so that things can happen in our city that would otherwise not happen.
Absolutely. So just for the students, I will also mention this. City Manager Tom Haddon at the end is the guy that makes everything happen. Him and the department directors that sit in the back of the room that have a bunch of staff that report to them. They are absolutely phenomenal. Tom, our city manager, is like the CEO of the city. He makes sure that the rubber meets the road and that everything that we put in place here up on the dais, on the council level, comes to fruition and gets done. And he does a phenomenal job for that. I mean, what we do here is a part-time job. A lot of times people will come to visit me at City Hall and demand to see the mayor. I'm not here. I've got an office here, but we've all got full-time jobs outside of this, and For my full-time job, I work up at the state capitol for the Iowa legislature, and so that's where you'll find me most of the time. That's why we need Tom, and we need all these directors of these departments and all of our city staff to make sure the city runs smoothly and effectively, and they do an absolute phenomenal job. And then what we're doing here, we just moved the consent agenda. That is essentially a whole bunch of items that we vote on en bloc, all together as one chunk. If somebody wants to pull that out, pull one item out and talk about it, vote on it separately, we do that. We give people a chance. Otherwise, we vote on these things together. We just approved, I don't know, probably 20-some items in one vote. So, okay. Moving on to item 5, old business. There is no old business to come before us tonight, so we'll move on to item 6. Item 6 is public hearings. And with that, I'm going to need the help of my mayor over here. If you want to read this, please. You read this part.
This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider Reed's Crossing 925 Jordan Creek Parkway and 6990 Ashworth Road, amend to planned United Development.
Ordinance, yeah.
Okay, ordinance to incorporate ground to the east of the existing
Lutheran Church.
Lutheran Church of Hope property for storm water detention initiated by Lutheran Church of Hope.
Okay, and then say Ryan, would you?
Ryan, would you please read the date the notice was published?
Awesome.
April 17th, 2026, in the Des Moines Register.
We have received have we received any written comments to this hearing?
Good job.
Plan and Zoning Commission by a vote of 6 yes with 1 absent adopt a resolution recommending approval of the PUD amendment.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Anybody in the audience who would like to address the council on item 6A, please come to the podium here, give us your name and address for the record. Anybody that's online that would like to address the council, please hit *6 to unmute yourself and do the same. Is there anybody either in the council chambers or online that would like to address the council on item 6A? Okay. Hearing and seeing no one, I will declare the public hearing closed. And we have got an ordinance amendment for consideration of the first reading, and there are no outstanding issues.
Motion to consider the first reading.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the dais? Okay, hearing none, please vote.
Yes.
5 yes, an ordinance to amend the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024, and the Reed's Crossing Planning Unit Development Ordinance pertaining to PUD district regulations and guidelines.
Motion to approve the first reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Yes.
5 votes yes.
Okay, perfect. Item 6B.
This is the time and place for a public hearing to consider YDM Ground LLC voluntary
Annexation, yep,
annexation intent
initiated.
by YDM Ground LLC.
Okay.
Clerk, would you please read the date the notice was published?
April 16th, 2026, in the Dallas County News.
Okay.
Have we received any written comments to this hearing?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll do this one. Okay, anybody in the audience who would like to address the council on this item, please come to the podium, give us your name and address for the record. If you're online, hit *6 to unmute yourself and give us your name and address for the record. Is there anybody either online or in the council chambers that would like to address the council on item 6B? Okay, hearing and seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. And we've got a resolution for approval of the voluntary annexation, and there are no outstanding issues.
I make the motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the dais? Okay, please vote.
Yes.
Okay, this time, you're going to read this.
Yes.
Well, let me do this one. I better do
5 yes.
Okay, item 7, new business, FY 26-27, hotel motel tax grant award to Eddie Davis. What we had was, we had an application that was not received in a timely manner, even though the application was sent. And we had a split decision coming out of the Finance and Administration City Council Subcommittee. And so we've got a decision before us tonight whether to continue to award the hotel motel funds or to not award the hotel motel funds. And we've got 2 options for motions that can be made. And with that, I would just ask if anybody would like to make a motion.
Motion to deny the grant because it was not received in a timely manner.
Okay, there's been a motion to deny the grant. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, come on up, Vicky. Give us your name and address for the record, please. And you've got 5 minutes.
I don't need that much time. Good evening to the Honorable Mayor and the City Council persons, as well as the youth that are sitting in today. I hope you're enjoying this experience. My name is Dr. Vicki Longhill, 136 10th Street. I'm also the Executive Director with the Eddie Davis Community Center. I don't want to belabor this issue because I believe I explained the situation at the last City Council meeting. Yes, the application was submitted on the date it was to be submitted. However, because it went through several email messages, including from West Des Moines to Eddie Davis to my email, and when it was hit to return, it did not return back through the email thread to the city of West Des Moines. And so that's how and why it was, I did not even know, that's why it was considered to not have been received. I did appear at last meeting to discuss and to notify the city that, hey, here's our email, and it wasn't received. It was after that meeting that I learned about the mix-up in the email thread. So for what we do for the city of West Des Moines citizen, and we are a fill-in gap for a lot of social service agencies, including the City of West Des Moines Human Services. So we fill in when individuals may not be eligible for services with the West Des Moines Human Service community. So we were created to serve people, we call them the working poor, who may not be eligible for service, but nevertheless, they can come and get the same service they would at any other human or social service agency, again, including the City of West Des Moines. So that's all I have to say. I accept your vote and opinion one way or the other. Kevin, I expected more out of you being our ward representative.
Okay, Vicki, I appreciate that. Is there anybody else in the audience or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, is there any discussion on the dais?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Councilman.
Vicki, it's not that I am saying that you don't serve a purpose in the city. What I'm saying is that it did not meet the deadline for submission, much like any other application that was received, or for that matter, even though it's governed by, I guess, state law, a bid that's put in for a street project or something like that, it's got a time limit of when the applications have to be submitted. And so everybody else had submitted the application for hotel motel tax in a timely manner. And Tim, I'm going to ask you if you would walk up and explain that timeline and what the application said. I mean, Vicki, this is not the first time you've submitted an application. So I guess I'm a little stumped as to why it would have been the very last day that it would have been submitted and possibly, come in late. Because again, on a bid project for a street project or anything else, when I dealt with them at West Des Moines Waterworks, it was like 2 o'clock, Wednesday the 6th, that was the time. If it came in at 2:01, it's late. And so, Tim, if you would explain.
Before he explains, I must interject, because how can you equate that with food insecurity? We're talking about individuals who do not qualify for food. We have food insecurity in West Des Moines just like anywhere else. Yes, it was a technical error. Yes, she has admitted that. But do we have to keep belaboring that? Do we have to put people who need food on a daily basis at risk because of a technical difficulty?
You're going to set a precedent that I don't think you want to go down that path. That's all I'm saying.
You could set a precedent, but this was a technical. I guarantee you it will not occur again. It will not occur again. But how could you sit there and vote no to be able to give people food who fall through the crack, who do not qualify in any other forms? There is no red tape. There is no paperwork. Individuals come in humbling themselves to ask for free food. You cannot equate that at all with the scenario that she was given.
Okay, Tim, do you want to shed some light on this? I think the answer would be no, but we're going to ask you to do so anyway.
I'm here. Tim Stiles, Finance Director for the city. Councilman Trevelyan is correct that there was a deadline to the application process. And talking with Dr. Vicki Longhill, she's applied for many years. And we did not receive an application by the deadline. And as it turned out, when she sent it, it was delivered to the wrong email address is exactly what happened. So
Didn't your rules change this year? Didn't you change the submission process a little bit different this year than in prior years?
No, we did not, no. The only difference was that in previous years, the city's finance committee had personally sat down and interviewed all the applicants during a meeting, and this year we changed that so that staff did the first level review and then brought a recommendation to the finance committee following our initial review.
So that was a change in the process.
Not in terms of filling out the application and submitting it by a deadline. That part did not change. It was the follow-up part of the process that changed.
Okay. Councilman McKinney.
Yeah, thank you. Tim, when you said it was sent to the wrong email address, my understanding it was not sent to a city email. I mean, was it sent to a city email address or?
What it looked like from the documents that Dr. Longhill provided was, she's correct, we sent it to an Eddie Davis Center email, which is what we had done previous. I believe she forwarded it to her personal email, and then instead of replying back to the city's email, she replied back to the Eddie Davis. That's what it looked like in the paper trail. So a mistake there.
Yep. So no question, the city did not receive it by the deadline.
No, we went back and looked on that.
Tim, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
In the application submitted, was Part B filled out in the way it was directed?
I'd have to look exactly. I don't recall off the top of my head. It seemed like it was done consistent with how it had been done in the years previous, to my recollection.
Well, in the application, none of the Part B 8 or 9 were filled out. So there was no IRS determination letter submitted. And then there was no commentary or checkboxes on the Bravo funding. I don't know how we consider those things. I don't know if they're disqualifying or not, but did any council members ask you to reach out at the date of the deadline to Dr. Hill and make sure that that application gets in?
No council members reached out on that, but I did send an email to the Eddie Davis Center address the following day, the following business day, asking if there was an issue with the application, because I knew she had applied for as long as I've been here, 15 years.
And did you receive any reply?
I did not know.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the dais?
Yeah, if I could just ask, so Doug, Councilman Lodes, are you saying you've got the application and there are provisions of it that were not included, or that's a question that needs to be, I want to be clear here. Are you saying information is missing?
I am looking at it right now. Part B, questions 8 and 9 were not answered. And one of the key things to me is providing a copy of the IRS determination letter. I don't know that I've ever seen one, even in years past. And so the fact that the application wasn't completed, we've disqualified other people for less, historically.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion on the dais before we vote?
Sure. Just so we're kind of clear, Tim, thank you for sharing about that. When we saw the initial applications, thank you for reaching out to the Eddie Davis Center after you hadn't received an application. Thank you for doing that. And we had a brief conversation about it. I didn't direct or anything like that, but we had just talked about it briefly because it was a curiosity because it was not there. But with that in mind, would you say that when you had a chance to look at the email that was sent to the wrong email address, would you say that the application was complete at that time or was not even complete at that moment? That it would have been received had it been sent to the right email address?
It was before the deadline.
Yeah.
You could track that through the email. If that's,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's what you're asking, but.
And though, was it a full application when you looked at it?
Well, I would just say that the IRS exempt status letter, generally, we've required those the first time that we award. I don't know that we would ask that every time. I don't have the application, her application in front of me right now. I should have brought it. I apologize.
Because I think Councilman Oates asked a great question, but at the same time, if there have been other organizations that submit it the one time, and then once you submit it the one time, it is understood. That's how I've understood it over the years. Would that be accurate?
That's been our practice,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. And
I'll read it exactly. Please indicate whether your organization is exempt from federal income tax under the Internal Revenue Code or is an agency of a local government. If applicable, please provide the copy of an IRS determination letter.
Based on that, I would think that every application, if that's how all of them read, that's what it needs to say, but I'm just.
well, perhaps this is the
Again.
moment to suggest that I think all of us agree on here from here on out. Let's make sure we get that determination every single time, even if the previous year they submitted all of the things. And so if that is the practice, okay, that has been the practice. Maybe we reevaluate that right now and just say from now on, I think that's understood. And that would make a lot of sense. I think Kevin would like that, Doug, Matt, Finette, I think we would all like that.
But Greg, that's only part of what we're talking about. I mean, the item at hand is that it was not received on time. Whether it was complete or not, I think is irrelevant. It was not received on time.
And I think at this point, does the council have discretion to do this? And my answer is yes to that, only because if we wanted to start, say, a mid-year hotel motel tax process, Tim, would we have the ability to do that right now? If we wanted to open it up again right now for a new process mid-year?
If that was the consensus of the council, then yes.
And so, to me, this is dissimilar to the bidding process. And I'm more inclined to provide a little grace at this moment because it was sent to the wrong email address. Kevin, by the letter, you are correct. However, we do have the discretion to say this was an honest mistake, and I'm okay with that because this is an honest mistake. I mean, we have the discretion to do that, but that's where I'm at, and I can't speak to why. I know where a couple of you are at, but I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. Tim, thank you very much for sharing your information. I really appreciate that.
Okay, out of respect for the students, the families that are here waiting to take their student back to make sure their student does homework, a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna put this to a vote. All right, Councilman McKee.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Tim, thanks for coming up here. Dr. Vicky Long, thank you for being here. Thank you for bringing it up. We had a similar issue arise at Bravo, Bravo Greater Des Moines, which is, of course, funded out of the same fund, similar funding source. And we have a practice at Bravo: you miss a deadline, no matter who you are, we don't fund it. It's unfortunate, but it's fair to those that apply. And if we go down the path of not following our own practice, and I decided to take a look at exactly what the application was. Thank you for sending it. To be considered for funding in the city's upcoming fiscal, beginning July 1, 26, this application form must be completed and submitted to the City of West Des Moines Finance Director no later than Friday, January 9th at 4 p.m. And then it goes on to talk about pursuant to state law and directive of the state auditor, government agencies such as municipalities are prohibited from making direct donations or in-kind contributions to private nonprofit organizations. Goes on to say this application must be lawfully provided, right? And so, not a great situation to be in. Eddie Davis Center provides a great service. It's needed. It's important. Just like our own Department of Human Services providing food through the food pantry and clothing through the clothing closet. But I can't get into a situation where I want to pick favorites or pick winners and losers based upon somebody not following a process. I don't like that. I wish we could help you here, Vicky. I wish it was different. I wish it was submitted on time. I don't know about the application that Doug's pointed out here. I haven't seen your actual application as I'm just looking at a blank deal here. Doug, I appreciate you bringing it up. I'm hopeful that there's another process, Vicky, that you can go through. Certainly next year, I don't know if there's other funding sources that maybe Eddie Davis can apply for in the near term. But just like at Bravo, we didn't like doing it there. I don't like doing it here, but I got to follow our own process. I've tried to change things in the past in the name of, what I thought was fairness, but I was told I couldn't do it because of precedent. I think this is a similar thing. This is precedent setting. So that's where I'm at, Mayor.
Okay,
Thank you.
Councilwoman Elliott.
You can stand on principles. For me, food insecurity is real. There was a technicality, granted. Things fell through the crack, granted. But really, by not allocating the money to the Eddie Davis Center, I would just like every single person who disagrees, who doesn't agree of food insecurity, look at yourselves in the mirror. Most of you have incomes. Most of you can buy food. Most of you can take care of yourselves. These are individuals who are going because they can't. Food insecurity is real. So no matter how this vote goes, I'm always going to land on the side of the people. Always.
And Mr. Mayor, one more.
Yes, Councilman,
One more
last
comment.
word. Last word, then we're going to vote.
I appreciate the conversation. There's obvious disagreement. The grant at hand is $5,000. There's going to be disagreement. But in case everyone wanted to know the exact amount that we were talking about, because we've been talking about this up here. And so the grant is, the potential grant was for $5,000. I just wanted to let everyone know that's what we're talking about.
All right, thank you. And I would just ask that, I helped my fraternity with the Housing Corps Board and, worked with the property manager. And, anybody that signed a lease can see there's a whole bunch of documents that you need to sign. And I asked them why there's so many documents. They said every time that something happens, we have to draw up a new document. I would just ask that, for next year, we put on there that just plain and simple, if an application is not received in a timely manner, it will not be considered. If an application is not complete, it will not be considered for funding. Just make it blatantly obvious that you've got to get it in on time and that it's got to be completed fully. So, all right, with that, please vote.
Yes.
This is a motion to deny, just to remind people.
Three yes, two no.
Okay, the application is denied. Moving on, item 7B, we have got another hotel motel tax grant / donation to award to the Ride the Thin Blue Line. This was something, if you remember, the Dallas County Sheriff, Adam Infante, stood before the council and solicited a donation for a memorial to honor Iowa law enforcement personnel who lost their lives providing public safety for the citizens of Iowa. I believe the ask of us was $50,000. It looks like the city of Waukee has agreed to contribute $50,000 and Dallas County $50,000 as well. The total ask, or the total project, is $250,000. Does somebody want to make a motion? And what we're looking at doing here is, it looks like we'd have a motion to approve this. We would be providing $40,000 and $10,000 would come from the West Des Moines Police Benevolent Association towards the project. Somebody want to make a motion to approve a grant for $40,000 to the Dallas County Sheriff's Office for the Ride the Thin Blue Line Memorial?
Motion for approval.
Okay, somebody want a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is anybody in the audience want to address the council on this item? Anybody online? Hit *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, is there any discussion on the dais? I guess I would just say this. I think that this memorial is absolutely phenomenal. I like that we are honoring people that made the ultimate sacrifice, protecting us and keeping us safe, people that were on the front line every single day. I say this every time that I can, that we talk about some of the more sexy things here, like economic development, quality of life amenities. We wouldn't be able to have any of that if we weren't safe, if we didn't have the officers that defend us every single day. So this is extremely important. I think that it makes sense for us to donate the $40,000 or make the grant award of $40,000 tonight. I do just want to say this, however. I continue to be extremely disappointed by Dallas County. We did a little project that was going to make just a little difference to this area called the Recplex. And we solicited donations for that because we know the taxpayers cannot be on the hook to foot the entire bill for that. And our city manager and Jerry Nugent and other people from the private sector went out and worked really hard to raise $15 million towards this project. We applied for a state grant for $1 million in hopes of receiving that grant for this project. At that time, the project, the grant that we applied for at the state required there to be support from Dallas County. So $60 million project. We're applying for $1 million grant from the state. We asked $1 million from our partners at Dallas County. And they told us no. No, can't do it. This is a project that significantly benefits Dallas County. The ripple effect of economic development up and down Grand Avenue from this project is going to be significant. Now we're looking at doing a third sheet of ice, an event center, 3,000 seats around it. Also going to be about $60 million, I want to say, when it's done. So we had to have some conversations with the Dallas County supervisors, and we did that. I think I talked to each one of them and asked, what can you do? Could you do $100,000 a year for 10 years? No. Okay. Can you do 500,000? No. What can you do? We can do 50,000 one time. So 50,000 towards a $60 million project that would really, really benefit economically Dallas County. 50,000 was their commitment to that. So we applied for the state grant and we got cut back. We didn't get the full million. We got 500,000. So the Dallas County Supervisors revoted and sent us a letter letting us know that even though they agreed to give us 50,000, that they, since we only got $500,000 from the state, that they're cutting back their grant to 25,000. I hope in the future that we can have better relations with Dallas County and that Dallas County can be more of a partner than they have been. We have great relationship with Polk County. They're great partners to us. I know that there are elections coming up and we've gone from 3 Dallas County supervisor seats to now 5. I think we've got some very good candidates running for all the seats that are up. And I hope that they're going to be good partners. They like to brag about us being the fastest growing county in Dallas County, almost in the United States. But I want to see more contribution from them in helping us to be that fastest growing county. So I hope this gets approved tonight. I think this is a great project, but I'm looking forward to a much better partnership in the future than we've had with Dallas County thus far. Okay, with that, please vote.
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you for indulging me on that. Okay, item 7C. We've got traffic code amendments, special speed zones, various streets. We've got an ordinance amendment for approval of the first reading, and there are no outstanding issues. Does somebody want to move consideration of the first reading?
Motion to consider the first reading. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to address the council on this item? Okay, hearing and seeing nobody, is there any discussion on the dais? Okay, please vote.
Yes.
5 yes, an ordinance amending the city code of the city of West Des Moines, Iowa, 2024 by amending provisions pertaining to the traffic code relating to official traffic controls.
Okay, who moved that? Whoever moved the consideration wants to move the first reading?
Motion to approve first reading.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, item 8, receive, file, and/or report. We have no items to receive, file, or report. Item 9, other matters. Are there any other matters that any council person would like to bring up for the good of the order? Okay, hearing none, we're going to have our mayor gavel us out, and we will stand adjourned. Go ahead and hit that. We are adjourned, and if you guys want to stay by for a second. our workshop. And before we get started, just want to go down a little something here. We're here tonight to begin a discussion about the future of an aging commercial and office area in our community and to explore a long-term vision for how it can evolve into a more vibrant, multi-use district. This is extremely important as we release the what some of us would like to see for Valley West Mall. I've had people come up to us that, man, we're, wow, this is really going to be a change. We're putting a lot of money into it, blah, blah, blah. This is the first time that we've ever had an area of our city that really has become blighted and needs to be changed. And so we've got, trying to really plan this area, and it's going to take considerable investment and change from the city to bring it back to be what it was before. City is considering a planned unit development, or a PUD, as a framework to guide that transformation over time, supporting a thoughtful mix of retail, housing, office, and entertainment uses, while also improving walkability, which I think is extremely important, public spaces, and overall site design. The approach is intended to address existing challenges such as aging infrastructure, underutilized properties, while creating new opportunities that better reflect today's market and community needs. It is important to note that what you'll see and hear tonight is conceptual in nature. Conceptual. The details will come forward later through the PUD document itself, as well as any supporting studies and recommendations that will be brought to the council for further consideration. The workshop is designed to give the council an opportunity to provide early direction of the overall vision and key strategies before any formal adoption of the PUD consideration of specific redevelopment proposals. To allow adequate time for the presentation and council discussion, we will not be taking public comment this evening. However, residents and businesses are encouraged to reach out to city staff after the workshop, as well as any one of us with any questions or feedback that you may have. There will also be formal opportunities for public input as the PUD moves forward through the adoption process. Finally, the presentation does include several designated question slides to help us keep on track and make the most of our time and be respectful of everybody's time that is here. I'd ask council members to hold questions until we reach those points in the presentation. We did a pretty good job last time. It was very difficult for me. I was shaking, but we let everybody get through the presentation last time, and I hope we'll do the same this time. So with that, Linda, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Again, Linda Schimmel. I'm the planning administrator for the city, and we're going to talk about change pace here. And what we'd like to do is really kind of introduce this thought process and decision points tonight. And we're looking for some direction. That's obviously a big picture, but we're looking for some direction so that we can carry that forward into what that PUD and the other information that we need to create to help this district become something that is really kind of a vibrant district and something that is taking care of the blight that you talked about. It is going to be a long-term process. So that's why we're taking our care right now to make sure that we're going to be flexible and we can adapt to changing conditions. With that, taking a clue from Doug, one of the first things we need to talk about is how did we get here? So back in the pandemic, both Clive and West Des Moines partnered up to do this University Avenue corridor master plan. And that was something that really kind of set the stage for what we're going to talk about tonight. This was very much a brainstorming process, a lot of robust outreach, even though it was a pandemic. And this document came back with a lot of recommendations, a lot of suggestions, and then it got put on the shelf. And nobody did anything with it. So it's staff intent to pull it off the shelf, dust it off, take a look at it again, and figure out what's still valid, what's either redeveloped, or what potential they didn't identify back then when they were looking at this study. Now, I'm going to be talking about just the West Des Moines part of this. Certainly, as we get comfortable with this, we'll be reaching out to Clive and talking to them about where they are in this process and what they're looking at. And there's some opportunities to partnership, but West Des Moines has the vast majority of the land area in this study. So this is kind of what staff looked at. We looked at those recommendations and opportunities that were identified. We documented the existing conditions. This is really something we thought was important, and we talked about this at subcommittee. This is looking at some data-driven decisions rather than just guesses. So we've also looked at, okay, how do we take this and build on it? We need that framework. So we're trying to establish a comprehensive framework because this is a very big area. It has lots going on. We need something to kind of build our plan on. We really want to be intentional in integrating complementary mix of residential, commercial, office, and no impact industrial uses. That is one of the shortcomings of this area now. It's pretty much office and residential, and it's pretty much 8 to 5. So we want to add that activity, want to add those choices. Funny enough, we were talking about this in Plan and Zoning, and Kevin Crowley said there's not enough office users to fill up what we have in this area. So we have to find those different uses. We want to create a more urban development pattern. Really, that's going to give us a couple opportunities. It's going to add the opportunity to have that, what we call 18-hour city. Add some of those uses that are going to build on what happens after 5. Add the residential area to provide that for the retail area. And it's really going to take advantage of what is a very low utilization rate on the existing developed area and provide the opportunity to provide more value to the people who take the step to redevelop in this area. We need to establish expectations and requirements. Our big goal is to make this a cohesive, well-planned, pedestrian-oriented environment. This is something different than what we typically do, which is single development. We really want to make this a framework that everybody can develop and look like an intentional, well-planned area. And key to this is make sure we're engaging with both city departments and outside experts. We want to make sure we're bringing the best practices into this effort. So just to give you a peek of this area, I broke this up into districts just mainly for the data part of this, to start looking at, the east side of this district is going to be different in size and pattern and uses than the west side. And so what you see here, the entire area that's encompassed in this boundary is about 675 acres. That is not including Valley West Mall. That is not included in this redevelopment area. It has its own PUD and will have its own effort. We do expect that to dovetail into what we're doing, but really Valley West Mall is kind of its own. Also on here, we're showing the pilot block. If you remember our discussion a couple weeks ago about the Quickstar development, that was an opportunity to start testing some of these things we're looking at for this PUD area and get a little more tummy comfort with how it works, how the council feels about it. And that's really kind of one thing we want to take concept-wise across the entire development area. So I had talked about data-driven design. These are some examples, and I'll go through these real quickly. One of the things we looked at is the what we call our indicators for building value. And everything red is considered a poor value, considering this is an aging office and commercial area. And this is for the Midwest. This isn't necessarily nationally.
Are we allowed to say poor value? No. I'm asking Greta. Oh. I want to make sure that we're not sued for saying poor value.
I think you're going to be fine. Linda, can you explain what you mean by poor value?
Yes. So this is data-driven based on comparables. This isn't saying that it's poor in any measure of the fact that it is not performing as you would expect a traditionally developed office and retail area.
Okay, thank you. Just a little heightened sensitivity to stuff like this.
Yes.
Just want to make sure.
So this is kind of telling us, at least in this first district we're taking a look at, is we have a lot of property that has a lot of potential. So with that, we also took a look at the concept of becoming more urban in nature. What that does gain us is potential for more floor area per site area. But that's called floor area ratio. And to give you some gauge, suburban context, basically if you're under 0.25% of building area compared to land area, that is less than a typical suburban development. So there's some potential there in increasing the floor area ratio. Peri-urban, which is that in between of suburban and urban, if you can get anywhere from 25 to 50%, that's also that sweet spot to gain that potential in floor area, tax basis. Anything that is in that particular pattern is getting more towards that urban feel and look, but it's not comparable to like downtown. And then urban context, that redevelopment opportunity is pushing those numbers to 50 to 0.50 to 1. FAR would be comparable to some urban areas in the Midwest. The mall we're talking about, we would expect that to be at a 1 or even more. 1 is also that dividing line where you can provide parking, surface parking versus structured parking. So that hopefully that gives you, as we're talking about these numbers, that gives you some real value when you take a look at that. And then what we did is we crunched the numbers. Basically, with redevelopment, we will gain value just in the fact we have new buildings, but we also gain value in that increase in floor area ratio. And what we're finding for the majority of these areas is there's a significant gain that can add to the tax value of this area. So as I said, our next step is to take that pilot block and apply that PUD across the redevelopment district. So again, why are we here tonight? Aging building conditions. The first building that is still in the area, I believe, was constructed in 1969. And we've had a couple periods where we've had active development. You know, we're still developing in that area. But frankly, those 60s and early 70s buildings, they are eligible for the National Register of Historic Places because they are that old. So
am I.
Me too. I'm in that same demographic.
You were already turned down.
Yeah. But the point there being is all buildings have a functional lifespan. You know, they're not going to fall down, but they can't function for their current purpose. And that varies depending on the use. Office and retail are probably in the 40 to 60 year range. Hospitality and restaurants are in that 10 to 15 range. So again, uses will affect it probably more than the actual age of the building. The key to that is when those owners and those tenants are going to decide, are we going to stay here and invest in this place, or are we out of here? And we need to be proactively prepared for them when they make that decision. Again, moving to that urban context to capture the value in the property, what our PUD strategy is and what that framework is. And then the big question for us tonight is, what is the city council comfortable with in investing in this district? And there's other opportunities we'll touch on in a little bit, but really that's when I walk away tonight, we want to get a good feel for that. So why are we treating this area different than other areas in the city? Right now, the existing developed context is large auto-oriented parcels, declining retail and office models, and it really has to be done incrementally and long-term. A PUD is one of the best tools for that. It provides us flexibility with accountability, district-scale coordination, which again, we're trying to make this a special place. Predictability as developers come in, and they know what the rules are and they know what the expectations are. And we can demonstrate the city's commitment to this area within that PUD. So this PUD is trying to achieve a couple different things. We're trying to encourage intentional, which I've used that word before, enduring redevelopment. We want to make good decisions now, so 60 years from now, we can say, wow, we were really smart back then. Multi-use is going to be the key. We want to have other users for those buildings that aren't office and retail. Adaptable, one of those things I talked about, that functional lifespan, restaurants, hospitality, and everything turns over a lot. Office and retail, maybe not so much, but we have to have the buildings that can adapt to that changeover. We want to change the dynamic of the area, do day into night activity, and really this is our opportunity to showcase innovation. You know, we can really start and really take advantage of what we have as a city and what we have as experts to tell us where our opportunities are. So those shifts are single-use areas to multi-use areas, isolated projects to a coordinated district, and then static rules that are intent-driven standards. And that's important because intent basically says this is what we would like this place to be. It does not say you need to do 60% brick. Intent will allow us the flexibility to change as conditions change. So just kind of on a timeline, we are at the very beginning, vision and policy direction. Our next step is to take that information and put that district planning framework in place. Then we take a look at infrastructure and public investment strategy. So we know that as people come in, we can say, this is what the city's intending to put into the equation. Then we look at private developers. They're going to be putting in that incremental private development. They are investing in this district too. That ends up with that long-term district evolution. So I did all the talking. Just in what we've gone through, what we talked about is those strategic shifts and coordinated investment into that long-term tax base increase and fiscal stability. So knowing the potential of this area, should the city take a more active role in shaping that transformation, that redevelopment? So that's a question for you all. Does that make sense to you?
I'll start us out. 100%. I mean, we have never dealt with this before. This area, and especially the area around Valley West Mall, has become blighted. And as I've been saying, the blight is going to spread. If we don't do something to stop that and to reverse this, the blight is going to spread. And we are going to get users in these buildings, beautiful buildings, I must say, but we will get users in these buildings that maybe we don't have planned to get in this area. We could have, and lots of great nonprofits. We've got great nonprofits in this area. We need those nonprofits. We could get, as the blight continues to spread and the rent becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper as the demand to go into some of the buildings, hoping I'll get sued for this, goes down, we're going to get users in there that we don't want to have in there. And no offense to the nonprofit. Again, we love the nonprofit, but they don't pay taxes. So I think we need to do a significant investment in this area. We need to breathe new life back into it. We need to bring it back to greatness. We need to invest in a big, big way. My planned investment in this area is in Valley West Mall site. I think if you turn that into something absolutely phenomenal, much like you showed in the renderings on the screen, that this is going to be an unbelievable ripple effect of economic development up and down this corridor. There are going to be people that are wanting to come in here. Everything, all the value is going to turn around. I mean, Valley West Mall, I think right now is assessed at maybe 19 million. I mean, in its heyday, I'll bet that was hundreds of millions, right? So that's what I want to see. I want to see the investment in the core in this area, in and around the mall. And I think that that is going to spur development all around the area. But I think we absolutely have to have a hand in it. I think we owe it to the people that live in this area. We owe it to the businesses that are in this area, the business owners that are in this area. And I don't see any other way, but we're not used to this. We're used to developing cornfields out here. So this is going to take some significant investment on our behalf. Investment that is going to make people scratch their heads. I just had today a guy at the YMCA when I was working out ask me about the $110 million investment in the mall site. It's a lot of money. We can't afford not to invest in it. I mean, if the blight continues and it continues to spread and the values continue to decline, as they've continued to decline, we're getting less and less tax revenue into the government coffers. And it's going to keep going down, down, down. So we can't afford not to invest in a big way here, is my attitude. Not doing that is criminal. We're gonna continue to have areas decay, decline, and it's just gonna keep spreading. So that's my 2 cents.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Linda, for the analysis here. I guess a couple questions and then maybe some comments, but in one of the earlier slides, you put on here something that you previously had presented at the development plan meeting, and that's related to the floor area ratios and the percentages there.
Can you go back to that one?
Yeah,
So I can see one.
that'd be good.
Remember the numbers there?
Right. And trying to get to, maybe 0.5, I think you said in there for suburban office average, from 0.25 to 0.5. Current valuation down there at the bottom, new construction is, current FAR, I guess, is 0.3. So my question is, I don't know if this relates solely to office, but, we're seeing a shift in office. We're seeing the properties, the Regency buildings there, along 235. I look at the parking lots, I don't see a lot of activity there. And I look at your numbers here, I'm like, yeah, let's get to 0.5. Even better, let's get to 1.0 or more. But given what we're seeing relative to market dynamics, or at least the reality of what I see when I drive down 235 or West Town and I look at the parking lots there, I don't see a lot of activity. So what is the capacity to actually and realistically go from the current 0.30 to something higher when we have existing footprint today that is not being absorbed?
Okay, so there's a couple opportunities. First of all, what we had talked about is moving to a more urban environment. Right now in our office district, the majority of those setbacks are 50 foot. In the retail zoning, it's 100 foot. So just by changing those setbacks to 25 foot, a more urban environment, and we've seen this in other areas of the city, that's what we were working on in the overlay district around the town center. Just that shift gains, I think for the Quick Start, we looked at an 86% increase in buildable area in just that block from shifting those setbacks. So that's one opportunity there. We're also going to talk about most of our retail and office are really very low rise. In an urban environment, we're going to encourage additional height. So there's two ways you can capture more floor area ratio in that. The other thing is quite a few of those office areas especially have huge parking fields, way more than they would ever support. And some of that is just, nobody wanted to, everybody designed for, Black Friday business. And everybody designed for call centers, which needed 9 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Right now, that's not the model we're looking at. And so between capturing more space on site and capturing more space through height, we can add to those spaces. Now, that's not going to happen everywhere. We're not going to get full tear down redevelopment. Again, it's going to be progressive, and it may be incremental, like infill or a building addition. And kind of what I had pointed out here, just a shift from 0.35 to 0.5 gives us a meaningful change. And so not everything's going to go all the way to 50 or to 1, but those opportunities, if they're given, people will take advantage of it. Because face it, redevelopment is hard and expensive. People are not going to look at it unless they can gain that benefit of more space to develop in the same footprint.
Okay. So I maybe understood or maybe was reading and had perception off. It says suburban office average 0.25 to 0.5. You're not talking about adding just a tremendous amount of office here. You're talking about overall floor area ratios, whether it's residential, commercial, office, or something else. Is that fair?
Yeah. And most of the area in here is not residential. And
Right.
so we're really basing this on office and retail use.
Okay.
Now, office, you very rarely see multi-story office. But we have the ability to add more users than just retail and office,
Yeah.
which can support those multi-story buildings.
Yep, and I think, consistent with our comprehensive plan that is going to allow greater uses within the similarly colored areas of the map, multi-use medium, multi-use high and low, et cetera. I think perhaps we will see a shift to the type of user that is in the 650 acres that we're talking about here. I think just a couple comments. We just had the Newmark folks in that we had a very good presentation, I think, a couple weeks ago related to the future of economic development in the city of West Des Moines. And so I think we ought to take the good perspective and suggestions that were identified in that Newmark report and certainly layer those into our process going forward in this area. And then I do agree with the mayor. I think, we haven't done a lot of redevelopment in West Des Moines. And so that's going to be a really big challenge for us, but it's also a really big opportunity because there is, as you identified on here, the red areas, the poor areas on there, those are challenges, but awesome opportunities for the city of West Des Moines. Everything there along 235, I mean, the access is going to be excellent. And so it's how can we make sure that we're best utilizing the property tax dollars in whatever investment we make. It's going to, in my opinion, having talked to several folks in this space, it's going to take quite a bit of dollars to assist with redevelopment. We've seen that in onesie twosies, older office buildings where we as a city have helped reinvest in partnership with other businesses to help refresh, revitalize, and then bring in an entirely new tenant, right? And something that, hundreds of jobs. That's one building. This is, I don't know how many buildings you got in there, but you got a lot. So a lot to say. I agree. We're going to have substantial investment there. We got to obviously do it wise. We always have. I know we'll continue to do that. But I think layering in the Newmark stuff in here is going to be helpful. Thank you.
And by poor area, you mean poor compared to what it was, poor compared to what it could be, but certainly this is a great area. So, yeah. The other thing I would just say real quick, and then I'll let other people talk, but Linda, explain what we have here. You got current total district value, 169.4 million. Potential increase with new construction, 180. It will go up 183.7 million, or it will go from 169 to 183.7.
For that particular number, it's going from 169 to 183. And in essence, that's saying no increase in floor area.
Okay.
We are just substituting an old building with a new building.
Okay, so we get a $21 million increase, right? Is that what we're looking at? No. Is that what it is? Okay, the math doesn't completely, okay, $21 million increase then.
Yep.
Doing that. And if we increase the floor area, we get a $73 million increase.
So that is basically, we're taking that floor area increase, and we're doing it at the new construction price.
Okay, so the 21 million is in that 73 million.
So that is
inclusive.
In addition to the 21 million we've got just from going from old to new.
So it's 21 million plus 73 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get 94 million from, no, that can't be. 73 million total increase
So
from doing that.
These are my estimates
Your
based
estimates,
on
your estimates.
comparables and the assessor's value. So
Okay.
I am not going to promise you these dollars in the city's.
No, that's fine. But then you have the other slide there, or the other side, bottom line, potential tax value increase with redevelopment at floor area of 50, 205 million, 121% increase. and then 257 with one. And I just want to remind people that the $110 million that we're looking at investing in the Valley West Mall site alone is going to bring $400 to $500 million in private investment alone. Anyway, just looking at how exciting this is.
Yes.
Imagine that. But anyway. Okay, anybody else? Questions, comments? Where are you at? Councilman Hudson.
So you've been talking a lot about District 1 West. What's the current occupancy of this area? Do you know?
I don't have the actual data. I can tell you that the Regency West development, I don't believe it has any or maybe just a very few tenants at this point in time. Someone has stepped forward to take it over. They have plans to redevelop some areas and reuse some of the office buildings. But we've just seen pretty pictures right now. I can't give you any details on that.
And I've met with these individuals from Illinois. They are very excited. They have very aggressive plans to redevelop the site. It's not going to be nearly as much office as is there right now, and it's going to be a mixed-use development.
All right. So I guess that brings to my follow-up question. Is this renovation? Because we've done some great renovations. I'm thinking about the Arcadia building with the ITA group there. I'm thinking about the Palisades building on the northwest corner of this District 1 West. I think there's some great opportunities for renovation, but are some of these buildings just past their due date and it's time to renovate? Not renovate, to just demolish and move on? What is the thought of?
Yeah. And that's honestly, that's the developer owner's decision. What I can tell you, we've also looked at a lot of these aging office buildings. I mean, and again, structurally they're sound, but they're mechanical, they're electrical, they're, windows, everything probably need to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, it makes sense to provide a different use in there. We've probably got a mix of 20 office buildings in this whole area that are very conducive to office to residential conversion. There are certain aspects of the building, what floor plate size it has, what ceiling height it has, how much space it has, that make it more conducive to those conversions. They're expensive, so people are going to be looking for buildings that match all their criteria. They're not going to take any building.
Sure. Which brings me to my follow-up question. You mentioned earlier, you said something to the extent of we need to be ready when they make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain what this readiness from our perspective as a city looks like?
Okay, so that is having that PED in place, having those uses, multiple uses available for people to pursue, addressing infrastructure issues, addressing corridor identity. So you're providing a place for people who want to be there. And when somebody comes in, we can talk to them and say, okay, these are the opportunities you have for multiple uses. These are the opportunities for, and we'll talk about this later, but what we call gating issues. Things like stormwater or other infrastructure issues, it's like we close the gate. You can't develop until those are resolved, and then we can open the gate. So some of those things are going to be barriers to redevelopment. We need to take a look at addressing them. Stormwater is a big issue here. We need to do a comprehensive analysis of how we take care of that. It's probably going to be a mix of solutions. We also want to make this a destination. So that's something that we're talking about greenways. We're talking about district signage. We're talking about pedestrian elements that are plazas or anything that people can enjoy while they're there. Better connections. You don't have to walk so far to meet your needs. You don't have to hop in the car. You can still hop in the car. We're not saying you can't. And this is, as the mayor said, this is the way we can support the mall redevelopment, is providing that opportunity for that area to support it with housing, with other uses, and people can very easily go from place to place if they want to, or they can take a bike, they can take a bus. So we're not talking about urban Des Moines areas. We don't think that we've got the justification to go that urban, but there's a whole lot of stuff we can take advantage of as far as space, as far as providing the amenities, providing the streetscape that make it a place you want to be.
Well, and I would say this, in my 16 years here, I mean, the number one issue with redevelopment infill development is always the stormwater management and bringing the site up to compliance, that's grandfathered in, out of compliance based on today's standards. And anytime that we go to require that, it's always textbook, right? Well, if you're going to make me put $3 million of stormwater management in the project, then I can't make a profit and I can't update and upgrade the building, so I'm not going to do it, right? So we're going to have to potentially look at investing in that kind of infrastructure, taking away the barriers to development for people. And then the other thing is, I think people really, really love walkable. And for our friend MJ out there, bikeable, right? But we don't really have walkable here. We really don't. Valley Junction, that's it. Jordan Creek Town Center was supposed to be walkable. It's really not. It's really not, guys. I mean,
West Glen is, isn't it?
West Glen isn't either. Neither one of them is. They intended to, they tried to, but they're just not. I mean, think about it. You go to walk around Jordan Creek Town Center, which, by the way, Jordan Creek is amazing. I don't want to get sued. But you walk, where do you walk? You walk around the pond. That's it. That's it. I mean, you try to walk other places and you're in the parking lot. That's the way it is. It's an amazing amenity. It's changed our city forever. It has made us who we are, Jordan Creek Town Center. It's just not that walkable. And West Glen is not walkable barely at all. It's a great development, awesome development. I'm glad to have it. Maybe it wasn't designed in the best fashion. It's not walkable. I mean, they've got the one street that you can walk on, go into Hertz Donuts, walk up and down, and then into the parking lot. This is the way it is.
We'll go into more detail on some of those items in the second
It's not walkable. We don't have walkable communities here. We've got Valley Junction. And, that's it. Valley Junction is a gem. It's amazing. It's totally walkable. It's old, crisscross, streets. You can walk up one, down another, in the grid style. And we
haven't built a grid street in West Des Moines since probably 1950.
Right, which is why it's so unwalkable.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
It's been a while.
But not only do people want walkable, but then you have the stormwater issue and all the other compliance they got to bring it up to, and they can't do it, takes out their profit. So you got to have city participation. But if you're able to do some of the things that Linda's talking about with the density, and you're able to say, hey, we don't need this level of parking, you can put another building on this site. That might change the dynamic a little bit.
Back to what you were saying earlier, like whether it becomes setbacks, whether it be 100 feet, 50 feet, 25 feet, to be more flexible. I think I would absolutely be in favor of that flexibility if we're going to make something great happen. So I'm thinking about this, and thanks for addressing the stormwater. I had questions about stormwater, sewers, because it's old infrastructure underneath the ground there. I'm definitely here for flexibility. I'm wondering how we reconcile like a grand vision of this area with flexibility, because if you're too flexible, you're actually losing the fidelity of the grand vision. So I'd be curious about that. That does need to be addressed right now. Tear downs are expensive and sometimes they can be cost prohibitive, but if buildings are past their expiration date, I don't know how that works. But my last comment is we got to see some comps in terms of cities. We are not a unique inner suburb. Hey, we have this big area that has a bunch of office buildings. What are we going to do now? I don't know. I know there's somewhere else in the United States the same problem exists, and I'd be curious to see what economic development incentives they offered, what other regional incentives or statewide incentives they got, maybe even federal programs. Seems unlikely, but whatever there is out there, someone has done this before, and I'd be curious to hear more about that in future presentations. Thus concludes my comments. Thank you, Linda.
And the other thing I'd say, and we've got some people in the audience that know a little something about this, we also have to see, and I know on the Valley West Mall project, they looked at what the market could bear. Mm-hmm. The market, to your point, is going to be a big deal in this, right? I mean, if we put up, try to rezone for office and we've already got plenty of office, that's just not going to work. So the market factors are going to be important here too. And the input from these folks that.
The mall is one owner that's putting together a master plan.
Yep.
This other area is
all outside of that.
Different owners who all have their different plans for their property.
Right.
And so that's where that PUD framework has to be in place. Right. But I'm not going to tell this guy, oh, no, you need to be office and, ooh, you need to be retail.
Right.
They're going to make that decision. We have to be ready for it.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to plan the best that we can to make the best city I've always said this. We are going to plan to make the best city we possibly can. That's our job. It's their job to make a profit. It's their job to make it work. And somewhere where these two come together is where we need to be.
Yeah.
So Councilman Trevilian.
Linda, you talked about the, I don't know, end of useful life, I guess, of buildings and stuff. You talked about hospitality. What is the useful life of a hospitality? So a hotel.
I would say a hotel, most of the major change turnover in there, they were what they call refresh, meaning new furniture, new fixtures, new everything every 7 years. That's a big investment. And after a certain point, the physical structure and the heating and cooling plant and the electrical system can't go any further. And so then in an increment of anywhere from 20 to 35 years, they have to replace all of that. So at some point in time, they're going to say, okay, this is too expensive to keep doing what we're doing. Do we want
Sheraton Inn has been there since the 70s.
Right.
It's still very viable.
Well,
They've remodeled it. I think the last time I looked, it was like 2018, I believe, was the last
Yes, and
remodel.
they're having that same conversation with us now. How long do we want to be here and how much money do we want to put in here? So it's something that I can't tell you the exact year, but I can tell you those buildings are getting to the age where the owners and the tenants are going to have that discussion.
Well, and that discussion depends on how much we're willing to invest in this area ourselves and put money into it. Because if we're not willing to invest and if we're not willing to make upgrades and changes and help to create value, and then, yeah, I mean, and that's where we're at.
We got to figure out where we're going to get that money, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Unless you've got a printing press that I don't know
We're
about.
still staying big picture, but we'll talk about some of the ways we can do that.
One thing, though, that needs to be talked about, and bring up that map if you would, please, about District 1 West. So right out there behind Sheraton, we've got a project that has come before Development and Planning Subcommittee. Where do we sit in making that happen?
Which one?
Matt?
The warehouse storage buildings.
Right, this area.
That little strip of ground.
I actually, thank you, Councilman Trevilian. I asked this, I think in our not this morning, but the prior Development and Planning Subcommittee. My understanding is that we talked, call it a month ago at the last, at one of the prior Development and Planning Subcommittees about finding a way to get to yes on this. What was proposed there was kind of as it was described, an agricultural storage looking building. It was kind of like a WIC building. And so my understanding is that staff went back to the developer saying, hey, we can get to yes on storage, but we need to have it consistent with some of the requirements we have for other storage here in the city of West Des Moines. So my understanding is they are, at least as of the last, call it 3-4 weeks ago, waiting to hear back on what the developer may or may not want to do relative to the design of a structure. And I don't know, Linda, if there's something new that.
And not that I know that staff is talking with the developers and they've kind of laid out a plan.
Yeah.
I'm not.
But we've got to figure out a way to allow this, because the email that I got from Lynn a month or so ago said that we need to figure out how to do that, but that, I guess, lack of a better word, there were bigger fires burning that staff needed to deal with. But I disagree, because I think this is one that it's been sitting out there since Sheraton was built and nothing's developed. So I think we need to figure out a way to get that, because I see that developing a whole lot faster than any of these others out there. Because again.
Well, I can tell you, I think staff is comfortable with the use. We need to meet the context.
But it was how to get it there. And when I said something about a PUD, again, I believe the email said that, well, we don't want to just do PUDs here, there, and there. You're talking about this whole damn district being a PUD. Yeah. So if you can do a PUD for Lowe's, you can do a PUD for 600 and whatever it was acres. Why can't you do it for this little piece of ground?
So Kevin, I'm going to ask you a favor. This is something I want to get the answer to you, but we got a lot of stuff to
I
cover.
understand that, but it's
so,
on your drawing. That's why I'm asking.
Well, okay, so if we can park it, and then we'll get back to you outside of this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
We got a presentation to go yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was done.
No.
Oh, I thought you ended.
Well,
I thought it was questions.
That's what I thought. That's why we're asking all these questions.
As we said, we built in areas for questions.
Okay.
Okay, you posed the question to us. I thought we were.
Part 1 of 2?
Feedback.
All right.
All right, let's hear from Councilwoman Elliott before we move on,
Okay.
and then we'll all shut up. How about that?
And I'll keep it short. I'm just really digesting all of this. And I guess the only concern, as long as there is some strategy that makes sense, because now Kevin's talking about a section of a section where something is being worked on. My only concern, we need to come up with a strategy, not digress, and continue. Make it uniformity. At some point, with the Valley West development, as far as aesthetics, maybe use that as a blueprint, so to speak, a smaller version. Why can't we have a smaller version along this whole corridor? Then we have the green space, we have the walk space. I would hope we have some type of housing mixture, but use that strategy and stick with it.
Yes, and that's really what we're hoping the PUD will do. And all those elements are staff's intent to put in that PUD. So yes, we're walking the same direction.
Okay. Linda, do not have the intonation of your voice go up, otherwise we'll start answering questions.
Okay,
All right, go ahead.
so a little deeper dive. So from suburban to urban, this existing pattern does not work because originally development was focused on one-story retail, low-rise office, huge surface parking areas, and common peak hour uses, meaning office and retail usually had activity at that same time. Now, that worked for a very long time, but it's not working now. So what we're trying to look at is that model doesn't support market demand anymore, reinvestment feasibility. It's really not, we can't do the same thing over again. And then infrastructure efficiency. So as we say, repeating this pattern that caused a decline, which we're seeing across the, not just the mall, but this entire district, will not produce reinvestment. What we're trying to do is make that context work both financially and really something that people want to go to. We want this to be a destination district. So more urban. Sometimes people get worried when we say urban.
That looks good.
More urban to us means building closer to the street, adding streetscape. One of the questions we have to you is, typically our building setback lines is the maximum you can go. There's also something called a build to, meaning everybody who develops has to build to that line. That will keep that urban context, but I don't know what the comfort level is with the council of imposing that in this redevelopment area. The other thing that does is it pushes the parking to the back, so you see the buildings instead of the parking lots.
And that's what we just did for Quick Star.
Yep. Multiple stories where appropriate. We're not going to see huge towers here. Shared parking, again, where appropriate. Sometimes that makes sense, sometimes it doesn't. And then walkable streets and public spaces. Urban does not mean high-rise towers, ignoring neighborhoods, loss of local character, and no limits or safeguards. We want those guardrails up. So to Greg's question, there are multiple cities dealing with this, and they all kind of have their own individual way to do it, but I can tell you they have the same reasons. For the community, it's walkable, safety, livability, and active public spaces. I mean, that makes a decision for a lot of people on where they want to live. Citywide, that gives us a stronger tax base and less pressure to expand outwards. We're using the infrastructure we already have in place. And economic is we have more development potential on the same land and better use of that existing infrastructure. So the economic reality of urban form, why intensity matters. Parking heavy, low-rise development is a low return per acre. Multi-story, mixed use, high return per acre. Again, we're not saying that pattern didn't work for a long time, but it's not working now. Those key concepts we already talked about, the floor area ratio, that enables redevelopment. We're giving them more value without expanding the site, and we're allowing for that transformation to be sequential. This is not a total tear down and rebuild. This will happen site per site, developer per developer. So again, redevelopment's only going to work if the math works. If it doesn't work, they're not going to redevelop. So we're doing more with the same land, same infrastructure footprint. We're doing it with a different development pattern, and we're gaining a very different long-term tax yield. That's in comparison to doing nothing. And looking through the council lens, this is supporting our services, not only infrastructure, but fire, EMS, road maintenance, all of that. It provides that fiscal sustainability when we're not investing like we do in greenfield development. Again, not that that's bad, but we already have it in place here. And then it reduces that reliance on greenfield growth. We're really taking this area and positioning it to generate long-term value for the city. Okay, this is our second question. Basically a check-in. So how are we feeling about that urban scale discussion? How are we feeling about that build-to line? Walkable streets and public spaces and a mix of uses. And when we talk about that urban scale, how comfortable are you? You have a good comparison right now. The overlay district and the town center area is using the same pattern. So with that, how important are good design standards? So that you can set the character, you can provide that cohesiveness, but you're still providing that flexibility. I'm not going to make an office building look like a factory, and I'm not going to make a factory look like an office building.
I'm curious about the build-to-line. You mentioned the build-to-line. If it was done for one property, it would insist it be done with another property or another developer. And I'm presuming that that's controversial because maybe the other developer wants to bring it back a little bit more and not build to the line. And so I don't know how much that consternation that would cause among the development community. But I mean, if we're trying to pack in more to make it denser, which does increase the value for everyone, increases the flexibility. I mean, I don't think that sounds terrible. However, I would love to hear from stakeholders more about that. Okay. Buildings close to the street, I think that makes sense for this area. And this is Ward 2, and I think we have an idea of what's going to happen if we do nothing. Right. We have to be invested as a city. Otherwise, the blight, if you wanted to call that, and I don't want to call it that right now because, one, it's my ward, and two, I think there's improvements to be made, but we do need to do something. And if this is the way to go, I'm certainly open to the concept, but always want to hear more about it.
Yeah. I've been calling it rotten decay, but I will refer to it as blight. Yeah. Councilman McKinney.
No,
yeah. I mean,
It's a blighted urban.
You've correctly identified the issue. You know, there are some people who just don't want to build that close. And so it's that balancing act. And it may be something where we find the solution is something where there's areas that it's more appropriate, maybe like on the arterials, and some of the lesser traveled streets isn't necessarily that important. That's stuff we still have to explore, but we want to gauge where you guys are at.
Yeah, I'll just say briefly, I think it is important to have strong design guidelines. All right, we have them in Valley Junction. I know we're moving forward with that. I think we also want to have them here. I'm also mindful of what that means for cost. And we saw this on a building down there off of Boonville Road where, and I appreciated your approach on that, Linda, where I think initially they were told they got to do something that was really expensive. During the meeting, you had identified an alternative way to do it at a much lower cost, but still get that same feel. I'm not saying, and I don't think anybody is saying you got to have this very expensive material. I think we can create a look and a feel while being mindful of the cost. And I think we have to balance that.
Okay.
And I would say really quickly, so I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin originally, Whitefish Bay specifically, and we've got this Whitefish Bay Town Center, which is also, it's more walkable than Jordan Creek, but not much. And, you know, the building is so far out to the street, the buildings are so far out to the street that you feel claustrophobic. And, you know, I can't even, I'm driving by, I can't even see the top of the building. It's too much. It's too jammed together. It's too far out to the street. It just gives you a horrible feeling. What we have around Jordan Creek Town Center is amazing. I love it. The look, the feel. It's crisp. It's clean. The architecture is amazing. But what we've faced in Jordan Creek Town Center overlay, you know, with Panda Express and with the Casey's and all these things. And to your point, Councilman McKinney, we've got to come up with the look and the feel, and we've got to, again, have where the look and the feel meets economics. And we got to be smart about it, because all we're going to hear then from the developer is we can't afford to put that up. And we didn't have to do that in Urbandale. We didn't have to do that in Clive. Well, I don't want to be Urbandale and Clive. I want to be West Des Moines, but I want to be affordable. I want developers to be able to come and invest in this area and make money, or they're not going to do it. So we've got to strike that balance for sure. And then, gosh, everything that you've put up, all the renderings that you've put up on here, if we could make this happen, if we could make these renderings happen, if we could get Valley West Mall done with the design that's there right now, this will be transformational. We will tear away from the pack and nobody will catch us. This will be an unbelievable place for people to live. It will transform our city forever. We just have to figure out how to make it happen.
Okay.
Councilwoman, do you have
Other
any?
questions before we move on?
No, my short comment is I agree with both what Russ and Matt had said. The key thing is a cohesive architectural design similar to what we have existing for Valley Junction. There is an architectural guidelines to follow, and I think no matter who the developer is, economically, if everything is looking cohesive, I think I kind of like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Trevelyan. And Lotz had to drop off, by the way. He was on for a while. He just recently had to drop off. He says he loves everything that's been presented so far.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sold on the build to line, because I don't know that you're going to get all of your developers that are going to say, yes, I'll agree to that. And if you're going to, I think, one, drive up the cost, two, make them go someplace that they don't have that. So, I like the design guidelines and things like that, but I'm not sold on that build to line. I think we've got a little bit of a, elevation issue when you've got University and then Corporate Drive back to just south of there. I'm not sure even what building it's called now. It was the Greyhound building, but that's dating myself. But I don't know. So it's going to take not only construction issues, but also grading issues into play. And so I think we need to be mindful of that all up and down Corporate Drive like that.
And we're used to working with that, topography and everything, and we know that physical constraints are something we have to accommodate. Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next few slides.
So this is how that PUD will work to manage that change. We'll use height and massing transitions at the edges, so it's not an abrupt change. Building and parking orientation, kind of what we talked about, is we really like to pull the parking to the back. And do parcel-based standards. So if we have a site that has constraints as far as topography or something like that, we can modify it for that parcel. And then intentional redevelopment. I keep going back to that is because we're trying to make good decisions now that will pay for it in the long run. Site level mitigation, rather than having you're a different land use, you have to put a 30-foot buffer, we're going to say, okay, this use against this use has these aspects that we have to mitigate. And we talked a little bit at Quick Star is if it's an urban environment, we're not going to be able to have the luxury of having those buffers. How else can we mitigate lights, et cetera? And then coordinating with surrounding parcels. That's going to be key because we'll have incremental development. Somebody's going to be there and they don't necessarily want to change, but their neighbor is changing. And so how do we manage that? And in this process will be a year's process. So we've got to figure out how to treat the neighbor well, but enable development. So this is kind of what that looks like. First of all is the process part of it, council versus staff approvals. What we're proposing is something similar to what the overlay district did and what we've been talking about now with eliminating redundant approvals. There will still be opportunities to pull them forward when it deems that council needs to approve them. But if the site plan meets all the codes, we really can't deny it. So that's going to be something that we're going to suggest we do administratively, especially with redevelopment. It's going to give them the ability to move through the process faster. And then conformance review. This is something different than our greenfield areas. We have to make sure, again, you're living with your neighbors well, and that you're working and coordinating with them. Infrastructure, another key element that we need to make sure that the developer is in on. So that is going to be one of their responsibilities, making sure that they're coordinating their infrastructure with everybody else. Developers also doing that long-term reinvestment. So they have a lot of skin in the game. And then we're asking them to partner with the city on some amenities and district improvements. And again, we don't have the details on that yet, but we feel that that's appropriate to ask them to invest on their own site, as well as the city investing kind of development-wide. So we talked about intent-led design. We're looking for walkable, human-scale places, shared green space and amenities, and incremental reinvestment and refresh that's allowed. We did this down the Valgate district. It was incremental. It was something that, as properties came in, we really wanted to make sure that we were making each site better. Okay, transportation. We're looking at incorporating complete street elements. I'm going to say it's not going to be a full complete streets development, but there's things that people want when they're going to be living and working in this area. Mixed use trip balancing. As we add different uses, their peak times will be different. So we can use that to our benefit. We want to make sure people feel safe crossing the street or walking along the street. And so there's some improvement opportunities there. Traffic studies, because this is an existing developed area, aren't necessarily as important as greenfield development. But when you have project-specific changes that are required, that's really where a traffic study is going to come in and be very important. Infrastructure strategy. We're really trying to coordinate upgrades and long-term efficiencies rather than doing a patch and repair type approach. We're looking for opportunities for that shared or regional stormwater solutions and really trying to make it an amenity rather than putting pipes under the ground. And then because we're going to pull in more residential uses, we're not going to be able to use our traditional parkland approach. So we're going to work with parks to figure out what opportunities we have to provide amenities for people who are living there. Okay, key takeaways before we ask those big questions. We talked about flexible and efficient approvals, looking at administrative review process for those projects that make sense, and then that flexible intent-based PUD. That gives people the opportunity to make choices on their development. Enabling an urban context to unlock the value of those properties. Infrastructure and stormwater are gating issues. We talked about this before. If they're not fixed, redevelopment's not going to happen. And this came from the original study. Walkability, open space, placemaking are by far the top community priorities in this area. So that's where we're talking about investing in walkability elements, wider sidewalks, trails, public open space, such as the greenways or regional trail connections, and district identity elements. So people say, this is where I live. And then the public investments needed to provide that catalyzing element. Address those barriers we talked about, doing some upfront investment that lowers the development risk, and then creating a place where investment wants to go. I want to be in this neighborhood. So, final question for you all. How supportive is the council in prioritizing coordinated public investments to enable and accelerate private reinvestment? What are we talking about? Infrastructure and stormwater, regional stormwater solutions, street network improvements and refinements, and sewer capacity. We're also talking about those placemaking elements, walkability, open space, public open space, private open space, amenities. For instance, the Quick Star, we asked them to make a connection from the street up to the store and have a seating plaza area. That's a place where there's a bus route, it's a bike path. That's a perfect place to make that connection. District identity elements. That could be signage. Again, that could be public art. We've got a lot of different opportunities for that. And as we get deeper into this, we're probably going to find other public investments that are needed to catalyze private investment. This is not unusual. In the Microsoft TIF districts, we're building infrastructure that everybody benefits from. This is really kind of that same concept. This isn't giving incentives to one particular developer. This is something that everybody can use.
You had me at hello.
The
good with all of this.
The box at the bottom, I think, is telling. Private investment follows public confidence. That starts with removing barriers and setting the stage. I mean, I agree with the mayor. I can't even begin to tell you how exciting it is to see us thinking about this space, because this is the crossroads of America. I mean, this is incredibly prime geographic location. That's why we make such a big deal about Valley West Mall, because it is the center of the western suburbs, if not the entire metropolitan area, with all due respect to other places that might claim that mantle. This is the spot. It just so happens there's some aging infrastructure there, aging sewers there, and there are some aging buildings there. But if anyone has any question about how I feel about it, removing barriers and setting that stage, if we need to lessen the official parks dedicated parkland or green space, so to speak, I'm here to be flexible for that. Because also I know from what our friends at Newmark said, employees want walkability, employees want amenities, and some of those amenities are green spaces within the develop. I know what they did over at the Arcadia building. They put, I think, some green space, some amenities, pickleball courts over there, yeah. And that's because employees want those things, and thank you for all those who were involved in making our older buildings newer and more up to date for our employees who we want to live in our community, of course, work in our community too. So that little box at the bottom, if you're wondering whether this particular public official has confidence that private investment will work here, I have tremendous confidence. And Linda, what you mentioned about the infrastructure piece, what we did for Microsoft, we built an infrastructure that is going to pay it forward to future developments. And I think it's a great model. It has worked tremendously well. And even if we don't see it for 10, 20 years down in Madison County, in Warren County, if we could do something similar here, I would be very interested to learn more about it.
And I love the identity too, the Val Gate, I love that kind of stuff. You go to other places and it's like, oh, I live in Soho, you identify the area when you're there, you know you're there. It is literally making the place. I bring up, what is it down in Kansas? Help me, Brad.
Topeka.
Not Topeka. Not the Plaza.
Okay, correct.
Electric.
God, there's that, gosh darn it, there's that one, starts with an O, I feel like. There's a community that has, every neighborhood is something, and it's so distinct, it's so cool, it's got such character, such ambiance, and that's what this can have, with all of these things that you're saying. So
Power and light.
Power and Light, it's another city that I've talked about, not Owatonna, that's in Minnesota. Olathe, maybe.
That's Kansas.
Overland Park. Everything is distinct. Different neighborhoods here in Overland Park, they've got lions out front of the neighborhood you drive in, they've got signage. That stuff all makes a difference. Everything you have on here makes a difference.
Linda, when you talk about infrastructure and stormwater, so sewer capacity, tell me, how do we know what sewer capacity we're going to need when we don't know what's going to be built?
Yeah, that's the tough part. Engineering has taken a look at this area. They know that the capacity is pretty much there based on the existing uses.
Right. I mean, offices used to have a bunch of people in them, which were flushing toilets and kitchenettes and things like that.
Right.
Street network refinement, tell me what you mean by that, because you've got, again, university, 50th, 42nd Street, Corporate Drive. So
So in the original study, that was one of the key elements they identified. We have what we call super blocks, or not the gridded street. And so they identified certain areas that might lend itself to connections, vehicle connections, that would shorten that, having to go all the way up to University and go over to another block and then come back around. Obviously, that's going to have to be mentioned at the point that somebody adjacent to that potential route decides they want to develop or redevelop. And at that time, we'll talk to them about what that connection looks like. We did a very similar thing at a smaller scale in Valgate. We had, 11 driveways going on to Grand Avenue.
those are all, I guess I wouldn't call it a street network. That's other than the one that goes by Valley's bowling alley and the bank, zigzag. That everything else is just interconnects with the parking lots.
Yeah, and that's really our ability to pull those driveways out, is providing.
Is that what you're talking about with this?
There's opportunities there.
Because to me, that makes more sense than saying there's going to be a public road through here, because if parcel A is redeveloping and parcel B is not, but parcel B is where you want that interconnect, that's not going to happen until parcel B gets developed.
And this is really going to be development driven, but we know as we intensify, the better we distribute that traffic, the increase in traffic, the better off we're going to be. And so those are areas that we could look at them schematically, or we can look at them in concept, but until development happens, until we know what those uses are, we're not going to be able to implement them. So that will be on a case-by-case basis.
But again, I think the parking lot interconnect makes a lot more sense than trying to punch some city streets through.
Well, and that, for the opportunities we have, that may solve a lot of the problems, but there are other opportunities. And with that public or private street, whatever that connection is, we can provide more pedestrian connections. So, but it's going to have to work for the development. It's not arbitrarily placing a street here and said, this is a good place for a street.
Okay.
Councilman Elliott.
Private investment follows public confidence. That starts with removing barriers and setting the stage. What you have outlined for us is exactly the thought process to go to the next level of how we should be thinking. This makes total sense based on the Valley West Mall. You need to continue. It's no different than Jordan Creek. Jordan Creek started as the mall. Now look at all the development that has occurred all around. Absolutely. So this makes total sense. Thank you. You have my vote. Move forward. And what I like the idea is we're not locked into one. We're going to get developers that are going to be creative if they want the bids. So I like that idea also.
Okay, anybody else? Do we have more slides?
We have one more slide.
Okay, one more slide.
Okay, so just quickly, our next steps are to take this feedback and start incorporating it in how we put together that PUD. Sounds like there's a couple areas we're going to need to research and come back to you and talk about, the build to line and some of those other elements. We've answered some of your questions here, but as we get more details, we'll have more answers for you. We're going to proceed towards that PUD adoption for the entire area. I can tell you this is the largest PUD we've attempted, and it's very complex. So you're not going to see it in 2 weeks. We're going to need a couple months to put it together. And there will probably be some check-ins in that process.
You'll have time to work on the project behind Sheraton then.
Okay.
This is great.
Point taken.
The only thing I would tell you, Linda, is again, it's aesthetics and economics. We got to be right there, right? I mean, we got to value engineer this entire thing. We got to make this economical for all of the people that are going to invest in this, the people that are going to buy these buildings, the current owners that own these buildings that want to reinvest in here. And so, and I think you guys have hit it out of the park. I think this is, I think the next step is to talk to have a meeting where you invite in all the existing neighbors and business owners and developers and hear from them and present this to them and see what they say, because their input, their feedback is going to be even more important than ours. right? Because if they look at this and they say, man, you guys got your head in the clouds, I absolutely love it, but you're dreaming, there's no way, well, we might have a problem. But at the same time, I think this is important for us to be creative, to be outside the box, to reinvent ourselves, to lead the way, be transformative, and be aggressive, and not be afraid to be aggressive, and get some feedback from the public that, 110 million. Yep, that's right. And it's going to bring $400 to $500 million in private investment, and it's going to be transformational. And I think you've hit it out of the park. This is what we need to do. We need to hear from the neighbors, the development community, the residents, get their feedback and figure out what the art of the possible is.
Yeah. And to that point, we are posting this presentation on the website, and I have my contact information on that. We're encourage anybody who listened in or hears this from somebody else to reach out to us so we can understand their feedback, get their questions answered, and really kind of build on what we've already have.
Yeah. What I don't want is the same old, same old. I don't want the things we have. We have amazing developments. Like I said, West Glen, Ponderosa, Jordan Creek. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I want something new, something fresh, something different, something creative, something transformational. Something like we haven't seen before. This hits that.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for your time. I know it's been a long night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
All right. More slides? Is there more slides?
Oh, one more slide.
One more slide.